Author of The Essential Accomplishments of Perfect White Moonlight, Quick Travel, Children Love Candy. Copy 1, Yan Yiming transmigrated into the current hottest Otome game, and became the female cannon fodder destined to be ruthlessly abandoned by the male protagonists, and a stumbling block in the success of the female protagonist Bai Yue Guang. The system told her that only by replacing the heroine and becoming the new White Moonlight of the heroines and successfully escaped can she return to the present world. After several years of painstaking efforts, he tried his best to change various identities, successfully captured the 4 male protagonists, and finally recovered his real body, happily waiting to go home, but found that he couldn't go back anyway. System Week Reminder: please read the user manual carefully. 1. Become Bai Yue Guang. 2. Get rid of the male protagonists and escape successfully. Yan Yiming looked at the second article and suddenly found himself taking pills. Copy 2, the young general blocked her in front of the door. I don't know why I always feel that the girl is very similar to my deceased wife. The merry young master looked at her affectionately. When he saw the girl, he seemed to see my confidant who had been away for a long time again. The genius chief assistant cornered her. Ming, after playing for so long, we should count how many times you lied to me. Ming counted the green hats on Lord Xiaofu's head, and said in despair that this game is unplayable. Read the tips. 1v1 is fast crossing, but the world remains the same, the heroines remain the same, and the original heroine also remains the same, but the identity of the heroine, Yan Yiming, is changing. Female protagonist scum, clear minds in advance. Content tags, system fast travel through book cool text search keywords, protagonist, Yan Yiming supporting actors, Zhang Yi, Nanggong Yat, Jian Yuan, Xiao Jingyu, Nanggong Xian. Others, brief review of works. VIP strongly recommends medals after waking up. Yan Yiming transmigrated into the hottest Otome game at the moment, and became a stumbling block in the road to the harem of the heroine Bai Yue Guang, and became Jia Bibi Ding Ding, who was destined to be ruthlessly abandoned by the male protagonists. How can the cannon fodder in the Otome game survive, and how to choose the White Moonlight in the target's heart? Their new Cinnabar mole. The story of the article is smooth, the writing style is natural, and the characters are interesting. Although it is a fast travel, it is different from the conventional fast travel. In a story, there are different stories with different characters, which is unique. Yan Yiming transmigrated into a game called The Emperor of Power. The name of The Emperor of Power is very domineering, but it is actually a newly released large-scale ancient love game, commonly known as Otome game. What is an Otome game? The official explanation is this: a BG love development game with women as the protagonist and men as the characters that can be attacked. Men can be attacked greater than or equal to 2. The explanation is fresh and refined, but the gleaming greater than or equal to 2 in the main brackets of the hero of the strategy has instantly put a very impure word on the game. NP. So to put it bluntly, this is a game that satisfies a woman's fantasies about men in all aspects. Players can act as the heroine and have a virtual love affair with so many top-quality handsome men. If one is not enough, get 2, and if 2 are not enough, there will be a third one. There are many beautiful men of all colors. Taste. In this game, the heroine is an undisputed heartthrob, and all the male protagonists will fall in love with her unconditionally and without principle. Yes, there is no principle. No matter how stupid the heroine is, she is still super invincible and cute in the hearts of the heroines, and the heroines will definitely abandon countless beautiful ladies and sisters for her. With the hostess. Once this game was released, it quickly became the most popular game on the market with its handsome appearance and gorgeous voice. After Yan Yiming entered this game for a month, he woke up and actually transmigrated into the game, but instead of wearing the heroine who is a winner in life that everyone loves, he became the heroine who will be ruthlessly cannon fodder by the male protagonists. The poor female supporting role has become a stepping stone for the heroine to reach the pinnacle of life. Yan Yiming recited the stepping stone in his heart a few times and then laughed mockingly. Who is the stepping stone is still uncertain. At this moment, Yan Yiming was leaning against the beauty in the pavilion in the middle of the lake, and the breeze gently blew a few strands of hair around his ears, adding a touch of charm to that exquisite face. Gently twirling a translucent longan-sized pearl with her fingers, she listened to the cheerful cheers of the little girl Lu Mei. A few days ago, my young lady invited His Royal Highness to go to Fuya Mountain to enjoy the peach blossoms together. His Royal Highness did not refuse that day, but today he was unable to attend the appointment because of important matters with Mr. Jian, so he specially asked someone to send this Nanzu over to express his apology. Miss, I heard that this is a tribute from the South China Sea. It is much better than ordinary beads in terms of size and luster. His Highness the Crown Prince specially asked someone to send this over. He must be very concerned about Miss. The box containing the pearls just now, on the round face is an innocent smile that I don't know. Yan Yiming sneered, she didn't see the slightest bit of care, let alone a lot of care. His Royal Highness, Nangang Xian, one of the four main male protagonists of the Emperor of Power, since he is one of the male protagonists, the only female protagonist Jian Yuer who can make him interested is naturally not her. The four male protagonists in the Emperor of Power have very different personalities. Not to mention the others, this Prince Nangang Xian is the most domineering one. Such a person will never wrong himself to do something against his will, and will not send a broken bead to appease her because he feels guilty about a woman he doesn't like, let alone a woman who is completely devoted to him. Therefore, this pearl sent by the prince in name must not be Nangang Xian's intention, and even Nangang Xian is not willing to be sent over. After all, in Yan Yiming's memory, his identity was only Nangang Xian, but Nangang Xian was unwilling to say a word to her. But the bead was still sent over, so it can only mean that someone made the decision for the prince, or moved the prince. Yan Yiming knew who this person was. It was Jian Yuan, the son of Jian, who appointed the prince today to discuss important matters together. Jian Yuan, another of the four major male protagonists in the Emperor of Power, the eldest son of Shang Shufu, Nangang Xian's best playmate since childhood, and the brother of the heroine of the Emperor of Power, Jian Yuer. The reason for putting quotation marks on this brother is very simple. Since Jian Yuan is one of the male protagonists, he must have some indescribable relationship with the female protagonist. According to the urgency of the state administration of radio, film, and television, there will never be such subjects as brother-sister incest, so the identity of this real brother must be fake, and the heroine or Jian Yuan must have other identities, and it must be very difficult. Yan Yiming only formally entered the game this morning. After learning about it, he found that this identity is not inferior to Jian Yuer, the lady of Shang Shufu. It was only 50 years since the founding of Chen Xia's dynasty. At the time Taizhou pacified the country, Yan Yiming's grandfather, now the Dingguo Justice, is the most powerful arm beside Taizhou. The ancestor had one life, so the Taizhou was especially kind to the Yan family. As for Yan Yiming's current status, the granddaughter of Ding Qiagong, she fell in love with Nangang Xian at first sight since she was a child, and vowed not to marry Nangang Xian in this life. The daughter of Yan's family in Yangguan capital declared that she was not married to Nangang Xian. Although Nangang Xian didn't mention this matter directly, she didn't deny it when it was mentioned by others. Nangang Xian didn't think there was anything he didn't like about having an admirer who was prominent and beautiful, and the identity of the Yan family was a great help to him. It wasn't until seeing Jian Yuer later that she turned her face and refused to recognize anyone. Yan Yiming vaguely remembers the plot of this episode, but when he played the game, he was the heroine. At that time, from Jian Yuer's point of view, he didn't know that this beautiful cannon fodder was so miserable, and that Nangang Xian had long been with her. Ms. Yan has an appointment, and only now did she learn the details of the plot. No wonder the lady in the back went crazy with jealousy. She wanted to slap Jian Yuer in a fit of rage, but was slapped hard by Nangang Xian. After being heartbroken, she became more and more crazy, and she embarked on the path of a vicious female supporting role. After sorting out everything, Yan Yiming understood even more that the excuse people told her today was by no means what Nangang Xian said, but Jian Yuxian's meaning. After all, Jian Yuxian is also one of the male protagonists. With the heroine Jian Yu present, according to Yan Yiming's obsession with Nangang Xian, this will bring a lot of hatred to Jian Yu. Poor Ms. Yan doesn't know how many days she can't sleep well because of today's agreement, but she doesn't know that the man she likes doesn't care about her at all, and only Jian Yu is wholeheartedly alone. As for Jian Yuxian, she even brought these things here to protect Jian Yu. Yan Yiming was playing with the valuable bead that Lu Mei had mentioned. It turned into a parabola amidst the exclamations of Lu Mei and the other maidservants, and fell into the lake. Lu Mei screamed and leaned on the guardrail beside the pavilion and said anxiously, "Miss, you, this is sent by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince." Yan Yiming clapped his hands lightly, as if dusting off, "So what about the ones sent by His Royal Highness? Are there a few beads missing in our house?" After finishing speaking, he glanced lightly and saw a few beads that were not close together in the distance. The maid with a mouth smiled and looked at Lu Mei, who was full of distress. "If you like pearls, you can take that pearl from me later." Lu Mei was slightly taken aback. "It is hardly a secret how much my lady is obsessed with the prince. The prince once accidentally broke a finger, and the lady carefully kept the broken finger in two. Now, the Nanzu sent by the prince himself, but mercilessly thrown into the lake." Moreover, Yan Yiming's face showed no reluctance, or even any expression, as if what was just thrown in was not a jewel, but an ordinary pebble. Yan Yiming clearly remembered that when playing the game, Nangang Xian gave Jian Yu a dendrobium pearl, with a faint golden color floating on the pearl, which is the color of the most precious Tahitian pearls, not so ordinary. Seeing that Lu Mei was still dumbfounded, Yan Yiming smiled and said, "If you like this." Yan Yiming drew a long voice, pinched the little girl's round face, "Then let people fish come back, let me play for you." "Miss!" Lu Mei screamed. She couldn't react right now, she even felt that her miss was crazy. The people behind were also shocked. How could such a big lake be fished up, and how could a servant girl use such a good pearl? And it was sent by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. For a while, she couldn't understand what Yan Yiming was doing, but seeing Yan Yiming get up, Lu Mei obediently followed Yan Yiming to the lake. "Miss, where are we going now?" "Go to Fuya Mountain," Yan Yiming smiled. "To catch rape." The Emperor of Power has a total of 4 male protagonists. When the Weibo platforms of moments began to be flooded with names such as Zhang Yi, Jian Yuheng, and Xiao Jingyu, countless Mrs. Zhang, Mrs. Jian, Mrs. Xiao, Mrs. Nangang, and Mrs. Nangang appeared overnight. Another Teef Boys idol group was born, who knew it was just a mobile game. No matter how much Yan Yiming disliked the lack of integrity in this game, no matter how shameful the lines were, Yan Yiming still fell into the trap. Nothing else, because Yan Yiming's native voice actor voiced one of the characters in the game. The Emperor of Power is an ancient love game, which makes countless girls willing to take out their pockets to support the 4 wild men with their own characteristics. The first assistant Zhang Yi, the young General Xiao Jingyu who became famous in World War I. And Yan Yiming's own voice is voiced by the genius General Xiao Jingyu who became famous in World War I. On the poster, the young man in black and black armor has wanton black hair, with a dark red at the end of his hair, as if he was soaked in fresh blood. Countless enemy troops were shot and retreated. The of killing who made the enemy fearful, the victory praised by countless people, but concealed his murderous aura when he took off his armor and stood in front of the heroine. His incomparably handsome facial features revealed a touch of indulgent pampering and innocence. With handsome eyebrows and star eyes so handsome that he couldn't close his legs, coupled with his incomparably gorgeous voice, his mother's attributes exploded, and Yan Yiming fell in love at first sight and quickly became a member of Mrs. Xiao. It's just that the good times don't last long. The first O-tome game in China is too shoddy. Even if the protagonists are well designed, there are still many shortcomings that make people complain. For example, Yan Yiming only wanted to attack Xiao Jingyu alone, but the game had to flirt with the other three to go on. What domineering emperor, are you sure he's not a middle schooler? Mary's son, isn't he a playboy? The so-called beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and in the eyes of a woman in love, all other males are bastards. Also, as a Krypton Gold game, it is not gentle to the Krypton Gold boss at all. Yan Yiming Krypton Gold is tens of thousands, and SSR has not drawn a few, and none of them is Xiao Jingyu. The domestic Otome games started too late, and the most important thing is that they didn't really understand the Otome games, so Yan Yiming was inevitably depressed. And finally, Yan Yiming's bottom line is the character design of the heroine. From the beginning, Yan Yiming disliked the heroine for being too stupid and too sweet, but gradually felt that the heroine's character design was not simple, so she went further after understanding. Yan Yiming finally understood, wandering between the four men half-heartedly, each of them is ambiguous and ambiguous. It turns out that the heroine played by the heroine in the game is a high-purity green tea bitch. So Xiao Jingyu, who did not win the Krypton Gold again, was ridiculed by countless seals, and it happened that the plot developed to the point where the heroine just hugged Xiao Jingyu affectionately and swore, "I will always wait for you to come back." After giving Xiao Jingyu countless fantasies, he nestled in the same bed with that flamboyant son of a family and scratched his itch. Standing from the player's point of view, the light gauze curtain and the flickering candlelight add a layer of warmth to the whole room. After the heroine fell asleep, the noble young man gently gave the heroine a light kiss. "Do you feel romantic? Is it very warm?" "Not at all." Yan Yiming was almost given a heart attack by such a heroine, as if thousands of muddy horses galloped past in his heart, leaving only the green grassland on his forehead. Yan Yiming endured the Krypton Gold, and attacked the four male protagonists at the same time. The biggest feature of Bitch White Lotus is the long Weibo of Bitch without knowing it, and ate the official Weibo of the Emperor of Power and the Planner A of the Emperor of Power. Let's talk about this game. This one was recommended by my little friend. The plot is still very good, although the history of planning is not very good. In the ancient background, a girl and four men are ambiguous, hugging in public. There's nothing wrong with kissing in private. In real life, the girl's behavior of stepping on four boats has long been a street rat, but in the game, they are everyone's sweetheart. After all, the reality is so miserable, and the debauchery in the game is not incomprehensible at all. As a human, you always have to pursue something. There are so many beautiful men, and they all revolve around you. You like all four of them. The biggest feature of the Green Tea and White Lotus is that she doesn't know it. Even if I play with men and use others, but I am pure, kind, and unsophisticated, I am just stupid, naive, and ignorant. I choose phobia, eloquent and eloquent. As a member of Chinese language and literature, Yan Yiming gave full play to his professional expertise, and sharply satirized the planning of the Emperor of Power inside and out with elegant and polite words. Then feel good until dawn. Maybe it's because the recent plot of the Emperor of Power is too touching. When Yan Yiming opened Weibo again the next day, wanting to see if the friends he met with him agreed with his masterpiece, he found a message on Weibo reminding him already past 999 plus. "I want to get 10,000 likes for the description of the heroine, if I can. I really want to blow up this like. Unfortunately, I can only order one. I'm so entangled, I want to continue playing, but I feel incompetent, and I hate her to the point where I can't bear it for a minute. Why is there such a and always so stupid and sweet at critical moments? Oh my god, blogger, why are you so cute? I want to give you a crazy applause. Talking about 3 views with the game, you are too idle. Don't play if you don't like it, it's hard for you to wrong yourself every day." The comments exploded, the likes exploded. Yan Yiming agreed with the teasing of her friends at the moment. She became popular. Ignoring these remarks about setting up a memorial archway for the heroine, Yan Yiming found the source of his sudden popularity with a little interest. Sure enough, Mr. A, the straight male planner of the Emperor of Power, forwarded this Weibo of his own, and added 2 words: noble and glamorous. Haha! Mr. A probably wanted to repost Yan Yiming's Weibo, so that fans of the Emperor of Power would scold Yan Yiming for his blood. As a result, the recent plot was too bloody. Yan Yiming was safe and sound, but Xiaoe himself he was scolded by countless players as a doghead. Needless to say, Yan Yiming didn't go too deep into why this game really had a real background. When Xiaoe was furious and asked her if she dared to take a gamble, Yan Yiming raised his eyebrows. Of course I dare. Enter the game and compete fairly with the heroine. This is the main content of this game. Competing with the heroine for a man, if the hero really will empathize with the heroine and no longer like the heroine, then the ending of the game, the Emperor of Power, can be changed with her. Even if all 4 heroes die and the heroine becomes a widow, there is no problem. There are a lot of bad things in this world. Yan Yiming has been bored recently, and this condition is quite attractive. Yan Yiming agreed without thinking too long. After entering the game system, I realized that if you can't complete the strategy, you will never be able to exit the system. Yan Yiming greeted the frenzied little A in his heart to the 18th generation of his ancestors, and vowed to find little A to settle the score when he went back. Mr. System, who has been hiding in the dark and was scared by the host's anger and dare not speak out, finally reminded Yan Yiming tremblingly, that, "Host, it's time for you to choose a character to attack. By the way, please allow me to introduction, I am your collaboration system iPhone 100. It's all about Little Apple's score so clearly." Yan Yiming clicked his tongue, choosing a character to attack? Of course it's my little general. The little apple that changed its name in an instant. That, the host, you don't have to attack whoever you want, there must be rules in everything. Yan Yiming glanced at the empty surroundings, and raised his brows slightly to signal Little Apple to continue. Seeing that Yan Yiming restrained his temper, Little Apple plucked up the courage to continue. Just like a game, you need to draw cards first, and you can choose the target to attack when you have the cards. The better the card's data, the better it is. Easy to attack. The Emperor of Power is an otome game, and it is also a card-drawing game. To attack the male protagonist, you need several male protagonists' cards. In the game, the 4 male protagonists have 3 different card types, R, SR, and SSR. Of course, SSR is the card with the highest value. A story that can be cleared with 1 SSR may require 3 Rs to complete. Yan Yiming naturally understood, nodded, and said, "Then take my Yan Ji Long Journey. Yan Ji Long Seeing is an SR card of Xiao Jingyu. Although it is not an SSR card, its value is very explosive, and it is the best card in SR. How? Host, because you are entering the system and not the game, so all the content of your own account before is deleted, and everything has to start again." Little Apple's voice became weaker and weaker. Yan Yiming was silent for a long time, and then the gloomy voice sounded slowly, "So I lost all the cards I used to fight for the liver? I lost all the money I spent? Why don't you guys go to Ching Ching grassland to catch sheep?" Little Apple completely shrunk herself into a ball, trying to reduce her sense of existence, and did not dare to directly touch the anger of the host. Who told the host to be a Krypton Gold boss before? It took a while to comfort her host in a low voice, as compensation. "I can provide you with a special case function." Yan Yiming gave Little Apple a look that "You don't want me to be satisfied, be careful I'll kill you," and Little Apple shivered, "You can pinch your face as you like." Yan Yiming chuckled, very surprised. This is really an unexpected surprise. The heroine's face is fixed in the game, unexpectedly in the real game, she can decide what she looks like. You can decide your own appearance at will, and using this function will indeed have many unexpected effects. That being the case, Yan Yiming accepted the gift unceremoniously. So Little Apple watched helplessly as the host pinched the face for more than half an hour, and finally presented a disastrous face that was somewhat similar to the host but extremely beautiful. As beautiful as spring plums blooming in snow, as beautiful as autumn Hawaii covered with frost, with eyes like autumn water. There is a tiny red mole on the tip of the eye, making it even more charming and picturesque, and it is already an endless provocation. Little Apple suddenly felt that his face was a little hot. Although the host itself is already very beautiful, but now it is so beautiful that people can't take their eyes off it. Yan Yiming looked at this face with satisfaction, and for the sake of such a good-looking face, the matter of clearing the account was finally revealed. Little Apple finally appeased his host, and then signaled to Yan Yiming that he could draw cards. This is the 10 coupons given out by the novice mission, which means you can draw 10 times. After each process is completed, the system will reward the coupons. Yet, Yan Yiming moved his slender hand, and 10 cards were arranged in a row in the air. After the golden light passed, the back of the cards were revealed. Yan Yiming used to spend tens of thousands of Krypton gold and couldn't get Xiao Jingyu's SSR card, not to mention that now the system has restarted with 0 Krypton gold, and now he has once again perfectly displayed his African blood. 10 coupons, not to mention SSR, only one guaranteed SR, and the rest are all R. And this SR is called Lonjo Kuzeo. As soon as the dragon word comes out, you know it's not Xiao Jingyu who is in your heart, but the domineering emperor, Nangang Xian. Lonjo Kuzeo shows that he has not ascended the throne yet and is only the prince at the moment. As for the card values, IQ is 99, action power is 87, and decision-making power is 178. EQ, only 22. The Emperor of Power has 4 male protagonists, and also has 4 corresponding data, namely IQ, EQ, action ability, and decision-making ability. For example, the great General Xiao Jingyu has the highest mobility value, the genius first assistant Zhang Yi has an explosive IQ, as the future emperor, Nangang Xian, as the highest ranking person, the most important thing is to have decision-making power in front of the ministers. Nangang Xian's decision-making power is the highest among the 4. Of course, the IQ will not be low, as long as the mobility remains at a normal level. As for the last remaining EQ, His Royal Highness, who has been flattered since childhood, has never had such a thing. Only 22. During the reign of Chen Xia, Jinling City. In March of Yangchun, the peach blossoms on Fuyu Mountain are in full bloom. Although it is far north of Jinling, you can still smell the sweet fragrance of peach blossoms in Jinling City. The expensive and rich carriage passed by the small blue stone boards, and the windows inlaid with gold and jewels were covered by a curtain of light purple gauze silk, and the breeze lifted a corner of the curtain to reveal a slender figure, which attracted passers-by to look back. Behind the carriage, there were 2 green covered carriages following. Obviously they were the casual servants of the rich and noble, so it could be seen that the identity of the carriage in front was by no means simple. The carriage swayed slightly. Lu Mei secretly glanced at her young lady. Yan Yiming leaned gently on the small pillow, closed his eyes as if he was thinking about something. Ever since she got into the carriage, the young lady didn't say a word. She didn't appear to be lively at all. Lu Mei stared at Yan Yiming's frowning eyebrows little by little. Her little round face slowly collapsed, and she became more and more sympathetic to Yan Yiming. Ming felt wronged. Miss must be very uncomfortable. Throwing away the gift from His Highness the Crown Prince today must have been too disappointing to be impulsive. Thinking of Miss's usual infatuation with His Highness the Crown Prince, Lu Mei felt more and more that it was her own lady who forced her smile and pretended to be strong. She is a little maid and dare not complain about the prince, but now she can't help feeling resentful in her heart. If he couldn't keep the appointment, why did he just agree to make the young lady so happy? Yan Yiming didn't expect that Lu Mei had thought so much in a short while, but in fact, she was just motion sick. Lu Mei pursed her lips, stood up, made tea and called out to Miss, "If you don't want to go, then you won't go. Why don't you go?" Yan Yiming opened his eyes, and took a sip of the teacup. The exquisite eyes that the painter could not describe were filled with a smile and a trace of excitement. No pity. Although the peach blossom season is not long, it is not short. Is there any difference between the peach blossoms today and tomorrow? Lu Mei didn't understand Yan Yiming's words. She only thought that Yan Yiming didn't understand what she meant, so she comforted her more bluntly. The peach blossoms in Fuyu Mountain will probably bloom until the end of the month, there are still some days left, His Royal Highness has no time today, I will invite you another day when I have time. Yan Yiming sipped his tea one after another, and sneered when he heard the words, if you ask him to do something, your mood will be spoiled for nothing. Lu Mei became more and more sad, and after being in a dilemma, she suddenly held Yan Yiming's hand, Miss, don't be sad, His Royal Highness must still care about you. Yan Yiming. This girl is indeed dedicated to the Lord, but she is a little too straightforward. Yan Yiming deeply believes that even if he emphasizes 100 times that he doesn't like Nangang Xian, this girl will not believe it either. Yan Yiming closed his eyes again, dealing with the chatty little maid, but he was thinking about the plot direction of the game back then. When she was still playing games with the heroine's vision, Jian Yuer occasionally suggested that she want to go to Fuyu Mountain to see peach blossoms. Nangang Xian, who happened to be a guest at Xiangfu, naturally had no reason not to agree. Ms. Yan has a prominent status and extremely beautiful appearance. She should be an extremely proud woman who likes to be high profile and domineering in everything. She can say that she is not married to Nangang Xian in front of so many people without any taboo. It's all tenderness, but that's not the case with others. So after the prince missed the appointment, Ms. Yan went to Fuyu Mountain alone to enjoy the flowers in sadness, but happened to run into the prince who said she had important matters to discuss, and Jian Yuer who was beside the prince, and immediately burst out with jealousy. In front of the prince and Jian Yulian, he pointed at Jian Yuer and scolded Jian Yuer, saying that Jian Yuer must have known that she had an appointment with the prince, so she deliberately invited the prince here today. This self-esteemed lady was a little too stimulated, pointing at Jian Yuer and questioning Nangang Xian meanly, am I not as good as this bitch? Originally, it was the crown prince and Jian Yulian who deceived Ms. Yan for a reason, but Ms. Yan's few forced questions instantly turned her active position into a passive one. Yan Yiming was a little amused that the screenwriter portrayed the female supporting role as too brainless. Of course it was necessary to question, but it shouldn't be done in this way. Calling Jian Yuer in front of Nangang Xian and Jian Yuan, even Jian Yuan, who always had a smile on her lips, suddenly lost her smile after hearing Miss Yan's words. The prince didn't like her in the first place, but the person he liked was insulted like this, how could he show mercy to Miss Yan? Comparing Jian Yuer, who was wronged to the point of pear blossoms with rain, and Ms. Yan, who is stern and introverted, Nangang Xiandang immediately said, you can't compare to Yuer. Tisk, it's really poisonous, Yan Yiming sighed. He even called Yuer directly in front of her. Yan Yiming remembers playing the game, after hearing Nangang Xian's Yuer, standing under Jian Yuer's vision, the game wording was, he is using such an intimate name to protect me, and he couldn't stop his heart jump up. Unexpectedly, the words of protection that provoked Jian Yuer's heartbeat broke the heart of another girl. The surroundings seemed to be filled with the sweet fragrance of peach blossoms, the carriage stopped slowly, Yan Yiming opened his eyes, and carefully got out of the carriage with his hands on the green lintel. Miss, are you going to Fuyu Temple? Fuyu Temple is an important scene of Fuyu Mountain, and it is also a place where dignitaries often come. The incense burns continuously all the year round, and the peach blossoms in the temple are extremely beautiful every spring. Don't go, Yan Yiming raised his eyes to look at the ridge, the peach pink of the mountain was mixed with a touch of emerald green, and said softly, the best view of Fuyu Mountain is not at Fuyu Temple, there is a bamboo pavilion on the ridge on the south, the flowing water and peach powder are all over the field, that is a good place to enjoy the scenery. The Fuyu Mountain in March is indeed extremely beautiful, and Jian Yuan is almost responsive to Jian Yuer's requests, not to mention such small things as viewing flowers, but he never thought that the crown prince would personally drive to Jian's house and go there together. Jian Yuan still regrets letting Nangang Xian see Yuer, but now she can't find a reason to stop her. Now, Yu Guangzhong is full of the smiling faces of Nangang Xian and Jian Yuer talking, and their harmonious laughter is in his ears. Jian Yuan's eyes are getting darker, and the smile is no longer visible in the eyes that are always smiling. With an excuse to leave for a while, Nangongxian didn't have any objections. Jian Yuan walked more than 20 steps away, and then stopped slowly. His tall body leaned against a peach tree, and there was no expression on his handsome and unparalleled face. Know what to think. It wasn't until she heard the slight footsteps and the woman's pretty voice that Jian Yuan raised her head. This place was specially built by Nangongxian, very few people knew about it, how could anyone come? Turning his face slightly, he found that this figure seemed a little familiar. Then I heard Yan Yiming's surprised voice, "Young Master Jian." Jian Yuan was taken aback for a moment, never expecting this ant to appear here. After Yan Yiming walked a little distance, there was a little sweat on his smooth forehead, and his cheeks were slightly powdered, which made this stunning face even more charming, and his autumn-like eyes seemed to be soaked in water, which was amazingly beautiful. When he saw Jian Yuan, his surprise was undisguised, and he quickly approached Jian Yuan with the hem of his skirt. "Why is Mr. Jian here? Didn't you say that you have something important to discuss with His Highness?" Jian Yuan quickly came back to her senses, and said with a smile without a trace of clues on her face, "I'm here to enjoy the flowers with my friends." Yan Yiming nodded slightly, and said a little embarrassedly, "What about your Highness? Didn't it mean that His Highness has something important to discuss with young Master Jian? The prince is naturally here." Even if Jian Yuan even wanted Yan Yiming to sabotage deliberately, but she also thought that Yu'er was here. Miss Yan was domineering. If she saw Yu'er staying alone with His Highness, she might not hold grudges, "Your Highness, but you will definitely hate Yu'er. After all, because of Yu'er, you still hide the truth," and said, "Why is Your Highness here?" Jian Yulian turned his face to the side and chuckled, "Your Highness returned to the East Palace after discussing with me, but Ms. Yan, why is it here?" When Yan Yiming heard Jian Yulian's words, his disappointment could not be concealed on his face. He bit his bright red lips, looking extremely disappointed after seeing hope, and slowly said in a low voice, "I'm just thinking about it. Your Highness is busy with everything, why? Will come here." Jian Yuan thought of Nangongxian, who was supposed to be dealing with all kinds of affairs but was clearly talking to Yu'er, so he didn't nod his head in agreement. "Miss Yan," Jian Yuan said softly. Yan Yiming looked up at Jian Yuan, pretended to smile and said, "It's nothing, Mr. Jian, don't worry. By the way, Mr. Jian also enjoys flowers." Everyone knows that there is a Fuihu temple on Fuihu Mountain, but they don't know that there is another wonderful scene on Fuihu Mountain. There is a small bamboo pavilion not far in front, and there is a flowing water beside the bamboo pavilion. Mr. Jian would like to go and see it together. Look. Jian Yuan's heart froze, but she said in a flash, "Miss Yan is willing to go when invited, but this place doesn't have the scenery that Miss Yan said. I know another place to go, but Miss Yan is willing to go." "Young Master Jian, you are meeting here for tea with your friends, how can you leave your friends to accompany me?" Yan Yiming raised the hem of his skirt and passed Jian Yuan. "Besides, since you have already come, if you don't take a look, how can you feel sorry for leaving today? Lots of roads. This place is only more than 20 meters away from Jianyuer and Nangongxian, because there is a peach tree blocking the view. As long as you walk through this peach tree, you will have a clear view." Jian Yuan stretched out his hand to grab Yan Yiming, but Yan Yiming, as if he had expected it long ago, took 2 or 3 steps away from her with the hem of her skirt. In an instant, Jian Yuer and Nangongxian, who were chatting and laughing, could be seen across the peach tree. The slender body suddenly froze on the spot, and Liu Mei, who had been following behind Yan Yiming, shouted in shock, "His Royal Highness!" The two over there suddenly turned their heads when they heard the commotion, and both of them changed their expressions when they saw Yan Yiming with a pale face. Jian Yuer stood up hurriedly with a panicked expression on her face. Nangongxian felt a little bit embarrassed after being surprised, but after seeing Jian Yuer's pale face, she comforted Jian Yuer with some distress, and looked up again, but she couldn't see anything wrong. Expression. Although Ms. Yan once scolded Jian Yuer in the game plot, but Jian Yuer is a pure and kind heroine, and Yan Yiming is also very clear about this point. It is really a pure coincidence that Jian Yuer invited Nangang Xian to come to Fuya Mountain to enjoy the flowers. Jian Yuer didn't know that Miss Yan also invited the prince to enjoy the flowers, but even so, her face still changed. Nothing else, just because Yan Yiming is the lady of Dingguo's mansion, and Jian Yuer is the daughter of the prime minister of the dynasty, both of them have either rich or noble identities, and they are good sisters who often drink tea and talk together. It is also true that Jian Yuer knows how deeply Yan Yiming has deep feelings for His Highness the Crown Prince. She didn't know the prince well. A few days ago, the prince came to the prime minister's mansion to find his brother and ran into him accidentally. Although His Highness the Crown Prince has a noble status, he is talented in conversation and his elder brother is His Royal Highness's closest playmate. Jian Yuer, a lady in the deep boudoir, will not have a good impression of her, not to mention that the Crown Prince treats her with extra patience and pampering. Thinking of Nangang Suanjun's handsome appearance, Jian Yuer blushed a little and thought, who wouldn't like such a proud son of heaven, even Miss Yan who was stepped on by a suitor. Jian Yuer was immersed in the sweetness of meeting the prince these days, until she suddenly turned her head and realized that Yan Yiming, whom she had deliberately forgotten in recent days, was standing not far away, looking straight at them with beautiful eyes. Shocked and unbelievable. Jian Yuer's face turned pale suddenly, and she suddenly remembered that at the beginning of the year, Yan Yiming told her when he was playing with her that in March of Yangchun, he must invite His Highness to Fuya Mountain to enjoy the flowers. Sister Yan, Jian Yuer was in a mess, watching Yan Yiming walk in step by step, and hurriedly stood up from the stone bench in a panic. I just what? The words came to my lips but I didn't know how to explain them. Nangang Xian didn't expect Yan Yiming to appear here. Just now when Yan Yiming appeared here, Nangang Xian felt uncomfortable for a moment, but when he turned his head, he saw Jian Yuer standing up suddenly, her pretty face turned pale one slice. Nangang Xian felt sorry for Jian Yuer, and when he looked at Yan Yiming, he said coldly, "Why are you here?" Jian Yuan didn't stop Yan Yiming, and immediately his face darkened. Miss Yan's temperament is too cruel, especially when it comes to Nangang Suan. She stepped forward to protect Jian Yuer and said, "Miss Yan, today is my highness and I came here to enjoy the flowers, and brought Yuer along the way. The job is to protect Jian Yuer in his heart and treat Yan Yiming as a scourge." Yan Yiming's approaching steps faltered. She glanced at Jian Yuxian, her eyes were clear and transparent, and a sneer appeared on the corner of her lips. "What does young Master Jian think I am going to do?" Jian Yuan suddenly remembered the excuse he used to block her outside just now, and seeing that Yan Yiming didn't move, he was a little embarrassed for a while. But Yan Yiming didn't want to say anything more to Jian Yuan. The emotion on that extremely beautiful face was too complicated at the moment, probably because Nangang Xian wanted to laugh at these words, but felt so sad that he couldn't even smile. Staring at Nangang Xian with his eyes, he said slowly, "This is not a royal private garden, so why can't I be here?" Nangang Xian was stunned. Based on his understanding of Yan Yiming, if he was alone with other women today, especially after rejecting her, he would definitely fly into a rage and immediately yell at the woman beside him. That's why he subconsciously shouted at Tui Yan Yiming. It's just that Yan Yiming today is not what he imagined. She didn't get angry, she didn't speak harshly, but calm like a pool of water. It wasn't his usual domineering appearance, but Nangang Xian felt a little disgusted. "Ming, that's not what I meant." Yan Yiming raised his eyes and glanced at the timid Jian Yuer with a half-smile. "Then what does your highness mean? Does your highness think that I know that you and Miss Jian are here specially looking for it?" Nangang Xian pursed his lips, he really thought so. But after thinking about it, how could Yan Yiming know? "I don't have the ability to predict the future." Yan Yiming calmly said, "I told your highness that I would go to Fuya Mountain to enjoy the flowers today. Your highness missed the appointment, but this has not affected my coming here to enjoy the flowers. On the contrary, His Highness told me that today he had an important talk with young Master Jian, and young Master Jian said that His Highness returned to the East Palace early because of his business affairs, but why are you here? Nangongsuan didn't like people to question him the most, but Yan Yiming didn't look aggressive this time. After all, he missed the appointment first, and he was prepared to explain one or two, but Yan Yiming said, I overstepped, Your Highness just treat it as nothing. Didn't you hear it? Nangongxian was stunned, looking at Yan Yiming, he didn't know what she was thinking for a moment. On the other hand, Jian Yuer, after learning that Yan Yiming had an agreement with Nangongxian, panicked and did not dare to look at Yan Yiming and hastily explained, Sister Yan, I didn't know that you and Your Highness had already. Hearing Jian Yuer's words, Nangongxian seemed to come back to his senses suddenly. Although everyone in the capital knew that Miss Yan's family admired him, he never thought that he would really marry Yan Yiming as the crown princess. What Jian Yuer said just now seemed like he already had something with Yan Yiming. He is the crown prince, he can marry whoever he wants, how can Yan Yiming resist him? Immediately, she was a little displeased and said to Jian Yuer, this is not your fault. Yes. Yan Yiming nodded and turned to Jian Yuer, although I invited His Highness did not accept my invitation. It is His Highness's wish to like whoever His Highness likes, and I have never been His Highness's man, why does Miss Jane explain to me? Yan Yiming used to be called Yuer, but now he just calls her Miss Jian. Jian Yuer swayed, Jian Yuan supported Jian Yuer with one hand, looked down at Jian Yuer who was so anxious that she was crying, and wanted to say something, but she fell silent when she reached her mouth. It is inconvenient for him to intervene in this scene, and he does not want to intervene. Nangongxian frowned. Because Yan Yiming had never said such a thing. She always swore her sovereignty domineeringly and inexplicably, which annoyed him endlessly. He never thought about letting Yan Yiming really have anything to do with him, but when Yan Yiming said this, Nangongxian was not as relaxed as he imagined, but his heart was stagnant, and he was a little sour and irritable. Jian Yuer only took Yan Yiming's angry words, and although she was afraid in her heart, she still boldly explained, Sister Yan, today's matter is our fault. Of course it's your fault, Yan Yiming said with a faint smile, could it still be me? Jian Yuer's heart trembled and she shut up immediately, pear blossoms were crying even more with rain. Jian Yuan wanted to speak for her sister, but she still had some conscience not to speak to Shanjun Yiming's indifferent eyes. For a moment, the three of them were speechless. Yan Yiming turned his eyes to meet Nangongxian's gaze. Your Highness just refuses to travel with me, why promise me to let me wait so many days full of joy, but in vain, and even make up those absurd reasons deceived me, how could I have blamed you when His Highness ignored me for so many years? Gu didn't mean to lie to you, Nangongxian said. Yan Yiming's words hit my heart bit by bit, every single word was unspeakably uncomfortable. Nangongxian remembered that for so many years, no matter how he treated others, Yan Yiming had no temper towards him. Now she is delicate and white. He bit his white teeth and bit his bright red lips until they turned slightly white, without his usual domineering appearance, adding countless pity. Nangongxian's heart softened, he lowered his voice and explained to Yan Yiming in a deep voice, it's just that you happened to be coming to Fuya Mountain today, so I can only give up one. Yan Yiming bit the base of her tongue hard, the sudden pain almost brought tears to her eyes. The bitter atmosphere created from the beginning almost collapsed because of Nangongxian's words. This explanation is really better than no explanation. At the beginning, Yan Yiming thought Nangongsuan's EQ of 22 was a bit too low when he saw the value of this card, but now it seems that giving him 22 is really too high. Sneaking a glance at Jian Yuan was really taken aback by Nangongxian's words. Who would have thought that Nangongxian would be so blunt and direct hatred towards Jian Yuer, which is simply challenging Yan Yiming's limit. Jian Yuan glanced at Yan Yiming a little uneasy. Yan Yiming happened to be crying because of his mouth. In the eyes of Nangongxian, Jian Yuan and Jian Yuer, it was only because of Nangongxian the reason for this sentence. Yan Yiming resisted the pain, and laughed sarcastically because of the teary eyes. It turns out that His Highness is a beautiful woman who has an appointment, so that's why he let me go. Miss Jian is beautiful and gentle, and she is indeed much better than me. It's only natural that His Highness likes her. Forget it, I'm the one who disturbed His Highness and Miss Jian today. Young Master Jian, I'm going back. The scenery here is very beautiful, Your Highness and Miss Jian just enjoy it slowly. At the end, she didn't want to say any more, turned her head and walked away. Liu Mei, who was following Yan Yiming, gave Jian Yu an angry and timid look, and then stamped her feet to catch up with Yan Yiming's figure. In a blink of an eye, the figures of the master and the servant disappeared from sight. Nangongxian watched Yan Yiming's thin body getting further and further away, and suddenly felt an indescribable irritability in his heart. Nangongxian had never coaxed a woman before, he had never given up his self-esteem to chase anyone, and he never thought that Yan Yiming's departure would be for real. So when Yan Yiming's figure got farther and farther away, he only frowned slightly, and then remained silent. It's just that I always want to be grabbed by something in my heart, and I don't have any mood to enjoy the flowers anymore. After Yan Yiming left, Jian Yu completely weakened as if she had lost her strength. Nangongxian stood beside her and supported her. Jian Yu, who was crying like a tearful person, choked up and said, Sister Yan must hate me to death. I want to make it clear to Sister Yan. If you want to catch up, your legs are really weak, and you can't take a step at all. She didn't dare to let Nangongxian chase after her, so she could only shake Jian Yuan's arm vigorously. Sister Yan has only a girl and not even a woman by her side. Brother, take her back. Jian Yuan helped Jian Yu onto the stone bench and touched her head. I'll go if you don't tell me. Brother, you told Sister Yan that it's not what she thought. Tomorrow I will go to Dingguo Mansion to find her. Jian Yuan simply agreed, ordered people to take good care of Nangongxian and Jian Yu, and disappeared behind the peach blossoms with a few steps on her long legs. Jian Yu cried for a long time by herself, and the maids didn't dare to come forward to comfort her because of Nangongxian's presence. Jian Yu was crying and crying because no one cared, and gradually stopped crying. Looking up and seeing Nangong Suanjun's expressionless face, he called softly, Brother Prince. Nangong Suanke came back to his senses, and hummed a little not very seriously. Jian Yu tightened her hand holding the handkerchief, and then said in a low voice, I have known Sister Yan for many years, and she really likes you. Nangongxian frowned slightly, but did not speak. Jian Yu paused before continuing, Tomorrow I will go to Dingguo Mansion to clarify with Sister Yan. No, this matter has nothing to do with you. She probably found that her tone was too cold and frightened Jian Yu, so she slowed down her tone a bit. I mean, don't worry about it anymore, it's getting dark, Sixin, send Miss Jane returns home. Jian Yu took the cloak handed over by the maid and put it on. She looked over, her eyes were red, the sky was still bright, and Nangongxian was still sitting there drinking tea. Where is the sky dark? Although the four male protagonists are all magnificent and beautiful men, Jian Yuan has the reputation of the number one son in the capital. The family background is impeccable, the talent is excellent, and the appearance is also very good, but unlike the others, this one always has traces of peach pink ambiguity on her body. Ya is extremely elegant, but she is also an extremely flamboyant master. Even if the person in the deepest heart is her sister Jian Yu, she will not turn a blind eye to the beauty like the others, let alone cry when she sees the beauty. Especially Yan Yiming, who is so downright beautiful. Abandoning Jian Yu to chase Yan Yiming, not because Yan Yiming is more important than Jian Yu, no one in this world can match Yu's position in his heart, but because at the moment Yu is under the care of the prince, there is no big deal. Hinder. But Yan Yiming was different. Such a strong-tempered and deeply affectionate woman might do something after being stimulated by this today. Jian Yuan has lingered in the flowers for so many years, and he has seen many women who are looking for love and not trampling on him. After all, Yan Yiming is a woman, not as fast as Jian Yuan, but after a while Jian Yuan caught up with Yan Yiming. Before Yan Yiming had time to react, yes, the little girl Lumei who was following Yan Yiming, when she saw Jian Yuan, immediately protected Yan Yiming like a hen and stared at Jian Yuan. Although Jian Yuan said that she was a noble person, she would not despise anyone in the slightest. Looking at the little girl who was dedicated to protecting her lord, she was not angry at all, but felt that it was indeed their fault today. It was reasonable for the little girl to react like this. So he lowered his voice and explained to Yan Yiming softly, "The mountain road is rugged, and there are few people here. I was just worried and wanted to send Miss Yan off. Jian Yuan's appearance is not as handsome as Nangang Xian's. Even if his facial features are separated, they are not inferior to women's exquisiteness, but the contours of his face are not round, so there is no femininity at all." At this moment, she was speaking softly, with a sincere and kind smile on her lips, and a pair of peach blossom eyes looked over gently. Even the angry Lu Mei, after a daze, her blushing backed away. Yan Yiming looked up at him and said calmly, "Don't dare to bother Mr. Jian. Walking with a beautiful woman, how can you call it troublesome?" Jian Yuan knew that Yan Yiming would not give him half a smile, but he stretched out his hand not to hit the smiling face. Jian Yuan smiled softly, and turned his gaze to the woman who had just run away. Beautiful profile. The eyes that had cried were clear and clean, but the corners of the eyes were still red, reflecting the tiny red mole. The exquisite facial features were breathtakingly beautiful. Jian Yuan paused before continuing, "I also have something to say. I want to talk to Miss Yan Sei. A flower viewing that was supposed to be joyful, but I didn't expect that everyone would be unhappy in the end." Nangang Xian waited until the evening for Jian Yuan's figure, and he didn't realize that his tone was a little impatient. "Why are you here now?" Jian Yuan straightened her cuffs without a trace of wrinkle and smiled, "Miss Yan is not in a good mood today, let's enjoy the flowers with her for a while." As expected of the number one son of the capital, Nangang Xian knew Jian Yuxian's attitude towards women, and he never took this to heart. "It's just that I have been back to the East Palace for so long, but Jian Yuan has been with Yan Yiming until now." Thinking of Jian Yuan's usual appearance to women, Nangang Xian was inexplicably irritated and wanted to satirize Jian Yuan, but the rare thought made Yan Yiming feel bad. Fortunately, this person is himself, so the words stopped on his lips again. Jian Yuan listened to his tone, but acted as if she didn't understand. "It's true that we are sorry for Miss Yan today, Your Highness should have time to talk to her." Hearing what Jian Yuan said now, Nangang Xian frowned slightly but did not refute. After a while, he asked in a deep voice, "What did she say?" "She said His Highness had never smiled like that in front of her." "Your Highness has never smiled like this in front of me," Yan Yiming and Jian Yuan said. "I only think that he doesn't laugh like this, so even if he doesn't like me, I can comfort myself, and he doesn't like anyone else. I just didn't expect that he could smile so happily in front of another woman." Yan Yiming's calmness surpassed Jian Yuan's imagination. She seemed sober as if she saw everything clearly in an instant. She said that after persisting for so many years, she should let it go. She said, "What am I going to tell you? Jian Yu is obviously your own sister. If young Master Jian has nothing to do, go back. She doesn't really want to see him now." Nangang Xian was silent again. "Ziyan," Nangang Xian asked Jian Yuxian, "do you think she really let go, or is she pretending to calculate something?" Su had to give up because of a momentary stimulus. Jian Yuan didn't believe that someone who loves so deeply could let go so easily. What Yan Yiming said was probably out of anger, but when Jian Yuan thought of sending Yan Yiming back to Yan's house, Yan Yiming suddenly said slowly, "Thank you Mr. Jian today, thank you for sending me back, and thank you for your pearl." Jian Yulian raised his head suddenly, and before he could ask clearly, Yan Yiming had already gone far away, leaving only a faint poking figure in the dark. She said thank him for the pearl. Yan Yiming had long known that the pearls sent today were his handwriting, and that smile in the dark, like a feather, gently hooked Jian Yuan's thoughts. Because of this sentence, Jian Yuan's thoughts were shaken again. Yan Yiming seemed to be not as simple as he imagined, but Jian Yuan didn't tell Nangang Xian about it. Miss Yan said that since His Highness doesn't have her in his heart, she won't bother her anymore, so she probably let it go, Jian Yuan said. If you really want to give up, you don't have to worry about it. If you have other thoughts, you will really disappoint Gu. Nangang Xian suddenly didn't like to hear such words, and didn't want to mention Yan Yiming. At this moment, he finally remembered Jian Yuer. Yuer also suffered today scared, go back and comfort Yuer well, and visit her again when you have time. When Jian Yuer was mentioned, Jian Yuan immediately withdrew his smile, and after a simple promise, he took his leave and left the East Palace. Yan Yiming, who came back to Yan's house now, because he bit his tongue suddenly today, his mouth hurts even when he speaks, let alone eating, and now he is lying on the couch chatting with Little Apple about his thoughts today. Little Apple admires her host's acting skills like a movie queen, and even more admires her style of biting herself in order to act. The only thing she can't understand is, "Host, why did you tell Jian Yuan in the end that you already knew that the pearl was given by him? Doesn't this reveal that you are really sad?" Yan Yiming let Lu Mei use eggs to cover his eyes, while answering Little Apple, "Of course not. Jian Yuan likes Jian Yuer, so Nangang Xian likes Jian Yuer, he definitely doesn't want to see it, so even if it's for him and Jian Yuer, Jian Yuan will find a way to get me to divert Nangang Xian's attention, and he and Nangang Xian have known each other for so many years, I know Nangang Xian's character very well, so I will definitely not expose me and deliberately provoke Nangang Xian's interest. Each male lead has a different personality, so we have to treat them in a different way. Nangang Xian is a macho man who is extremely conceited. He prefers the soft to the hard, and likes the feeling of being in control of everything, so even a woman likes it. The weak and obedient ones, Jian Yuan is different, he has seen too many women, and women who are too delicate can only make him feel sorry for them, so making him interested is the most important thing. Little Apple nodded ignorantly. It turns out that the host is planning to kill two birds with one stone and directly attack the male protagonist. Of course not, Yan Yiming sneered, my goal is to attack Nangang Xian, so I won't waste my effort in unnecessary actions. Little Apple doesn't quite understand, then why do you still tease Jian Yuan? Yan Yiming covered his face and smiled, I just mentioned it by the way, why is it called teasing? Little Apple let out an "oh," and hastily changed the subject. Because of your appearance today as the host, Jian Yuer, the heroine of the game, was greatly frightened. From the communication with Jian Yuan, it can be inferred that Jian Yuer will come to you tomorrow to continue the plastic sisterhood. This is the content of the first chapter. Yan Yiming knew the plot. In the original game, after Jian Yuer was scolded by Yan Yiming, she still came to Yan Yiming to apologize the next day and said that she was not masculine to the prince. Ms. Yan was still angry, but she met Jian Yuer, but the intensification of the conflict was not within Jian Xiaobalian's expectation. Jian Yuer's Madonna attributes are indeed hopeless. She would come to apologize when she was insulted so much, let alone this time, so Jian Yuer will definitely come again tomorrow. Oh right. Little Apple reminded Yan Yiming as if suddenly remembering, don't forget about the fifth prince. Yan Yiming let out a long sigh of relief, you guys are really going to cause me trouble. Although Yan Yiming's identity this time is a cannon fodder female supporting role, but after all, he has a good background and looks. Nangang Xian doesn't like it, but there are others who like it, and there are quite a few people who like it. This Miss Yan did not marry the prince in the end, but married the current fifth prince, Nangang Yat. According to the development of the original plot, after being heartbroken by Nangang Xian, Ms. Yan finally felt ashamed, and finally got married with Nangang Yat, who was 70% or 80% similar to Nangang Xian. Peace and beauty. Now Yan Yiming has directly seized Ms. Yan's identity. In Little Apple's words, since she has taken her body, she must fulfill her fate. In short, Yan Yiming must complete the task of marrying Nangang Ye while attacking Nangang Xian. After playing around with the two brothers, Yan Yiming suddenly felt a little dizzy, but it would be the same as what Xiaoe said at the beginning, and he would stay in the system forever and could not return to the present world. No matter how bad things are in this world, there are still things she is attached to that she cannot give up, so returning to this world is the most important thing. The maid came in from the outside, and the smell of food wafted in, and Yan Yiming turned over. The food was all good, but Yan Yiming couldn't eat it because of his bad mouth, so he could only eat a few bites before being taken away. In the end, in Lu Mei's eyes, it was Yan Yiming who was too sad today and lost his appetite. Just now, Jian Yuan was with her along the way, and Lu Mei didn't dare to speak, but now that she returned to Yan's house, she saw that the young lady couldn't eat anything, and she couldn't stop crying before Yan Yiming cried. Yan Yiming wanted to laugh when the little girl was crying. He rubbed Lu Mei's head and joked, "Why are you crying?" "I'm crying for Miss." Lu Mei rubbed her walnut eyes and twitched. "It's said that the emperor speaks for himself, and the crown prince has 8 instead of 9, and he's still lying. And that Miss Jian, mistreating her so well, but secretly having such a bad marriage, Miss, you can't compare to that Miss Jian. The prince must have a bad eye, but he likes her and doesn't like you." Yan Yiming nodded in agreement. "I also think he might be a little blind." Yes, the people who came to our house to propose marriage are almost over the threshold, even the second prince and the fifth prince." Lu Mei nodded like a hammer, and only after she nodded did she hear what her lady said. It's a slap in the face. She turned her head and looked terrified. "Miss, what did you say?" "I said you were right." Yan Yiming took a sip of tea. "Jian Yuer will definitely come to the house tomorrow, and I have a task for you. Remember to get her out tomorrow." Lu Mei readily agreed. The next day, Jian Yuer really came to Yan's house early in the morning to look for Yan Yiming, but Yan Yiming still refused to see her. The Yan family claimed that the young lady caught a cold yesterday, and today she fell ill so badly that she couldn't even go to the ground. Jian Yuer could only go back to Jian's mansion in a daze. Keeping Jian Yuer out, Yan Yiming and Apple worked together to study Nangang Xian's strategy plan. The difference from the game is that the progress of each card in the game needs to be brushed day and night, but in the system, the cards will continue to increase with the hero's favorability. In the past, even if Ms. Yan only thought about Nangang Xian, it seemed that she was wrong if she only had one person. I don't know when, Nangang Xian, who was still amiable at the beginning, was unwilling to say even a good word later. If it wasn't for the fact that the lowest favorability on the card was 0, Nangang Xian's favorability with Yan Yiming would probably be even lower. Little Apple was a little surprised. The current favorability is 60%, which is so high. He really doesn't like it. Miss Yan is so beautiful and absolutely in love with him. Nangang Xian has never refused for so many years. She should still have a crush on him, but it is higher than I imagined. Yan Yiming said, "But what's the use?" Jian Yuer appeared. Nangang Xian turned all his attention to Jian Yuer. Nangang Xian was too confident, got it too easily, and never cherished it. Yan Yiming waved a delicate jade-colored dress into his hair, looked at the face he had pinched for a long time in the mirror, and nodded in satisfaction. "Sure enough, it's more interesting to change clothes in person than Miracle Nuan. There are many. Has the value of Nangang Xian's cards increased?" Little Apple checked the data. IQ and mobility increased by 20 points each, and decision-making ability increased by 37 points. What about emotional intelligence? Little Apple also felt a little bit unbearable to look directly at and whispered, "It's still 22. Anyway, Jian Yuan and Jian Yuan are good friends. Mr. Jian has not disliked him for so many years. They are true love." Yan Yiming was extremely disgusted. Little Apple hastily explained, "We are a serious romance game, there will be no BL lines, and to be precise, they are rivals in love. That's all I said." After the girl finished drawing the last eyebrow, Yan Yiming sat up from the dressing table. I've been sick for so many days, and it's time to meet our heroine. This is the first few days gone. Day 4. Since Jian Yuer came back from Fuyu Mountain, she came to Yan's house every day. She is the lady of Xiongfu, even the Yan family can't treat her harshly, but Yan Yiming just doesn't see anyone. After tenderly resigning, he said to come back another day. Yan Yiming kept silent about what kind of conflict he had with Jian Yuer. Yan Yiming was too stubborn. Mrs. Yan couldn't pry her daughter's mouth away, she could only scold her wickedly, imitating Miss Jian. She is still so ignorant at such an age. Mei stood behind Yan Yiming, her eyes were red from holding back. She really couldn't understand why her lady had wronged her so much. When I went out, I met the young master of the Yan family who happened to be returning home. The twins who were the same as Yan Yiming and his mother were also a little depressed by Yan Yiming's behavior in the past 2 days. Miss Jian's family came to Yan's house every day. After all, it was watched by caring people, and within 2 days, someone whispered that Yan Yiming was perverse, and only a good-tempered person like Miss Jian was allowed to be bullied by her. Young Master Yan almost smashed up a shop outside, and when he came back, he couldn't bear it and yelled at his sister, "Did that Jane bully you?" Yan Yiming was stunned and then laughed. He stretched out his hand and pinched the boy's face, which had already lost the baby fat. "Don't worry, kid, who can bully me? Where did you go to play?" Young Master Yan said in a muffled voice that he had just returned from the 5th prince's residence. Yan Yiming's eyes moved slightly and he said casually, "I haven't seen His Highness the 5th prince for a long time." Young Master Yan didn't understand the reason, he just felt that his sister was not afraid of everything, and comparing it with what she saw now, it was not right. Yan Yiming just didn't tell him, angrily turned around 3 times on the spot and went to look for her. A good friend, the 5th prince. The young master of the Yan family and the 5th prince are tired of being together all day long. They have read about the good things about love as companions since they were young. There is another reason that few people know. This prince, who is about the same age as the young master of the Yan family, has always liked this, the eldest lady of the Yan family, who said bluntly that she only married her own brother. There was a friend who talked about her sister every day and said that she was good in every way, and the 5th prince Nanggongye inevitably had a good impression of Yan Yiming, and when he met Yan Yiming later, his beautiful face and bright and flamboyant personality were deeply fascinated. Engraved in the bottom of my heart. Ms. Yan has a perverse personality, but she is very protective of her family. The 5th prince is not only the prince's younger brother but also his best friend. Yan Yiming treats him very well. It's no wonder that the 5th prince likes it more and more. It's just that the sprout has just grown. Yan Yiming swore that he would not marry the prince. Although his brother the prince did not say that he would marry Yan Yiming into the East Palace, he never said that he would marry another woman. Think about Yan Yiming's family background. Looking at it, Nanggongye felt that the possibility of Yan Yiming becoming his sister-in-law was too great, and he was immediately chilled. As a result, the heartless young master of the Yan family didn't understand the bitterness of his good friend at all, and continued his daily life of Sister Xian every day, and Yan Yiming became more and more amazing as he grew up, and the seeds planted deep in his heart did not die prematurely, but instead grew deeper. The young man couldn't hide his feelings, and not long ago he accidentally revealed his true feelings in front of Yan Yiming. Although Yan Yiming didn't say anything, he could feel that Yan Yiming was avoiding him. Nanggongye didn't want to embarrass Yan Yiming, so he could only stay alone in the mansion and get sulky. It wasn't until young Master Yan, who had just left, came back and poured a pot of tea angrily, that he was aggrieved and told Nanggongye about Yan Yiming's recent abnormalities, and when he talked about Yan Yiming, he asked Nanggongye what was going on recently. "Don't come to the house to play." After hearing this, Nanggongye's face that resembled Nanggong Suanba, but with a little more childishness, suddenly smiled, his eyes lit up suddenly, he turned over from the beauty, tidied up his appearance and was happy with his friends. He said, "In that case, let's go see Sister Yan today." Young Master Yan naturally has no objection, and he is very willing to make my sister happy with multiple people. But at the Yan residence at this moment, Yan Yiming pretended to be sick for 3 days. During these 3 days, Jian Yuer would come to Yan's house every day, but she never saw Yan Yiming. Because there has been a deviation from the progress in the game, Little Apple asked Yan Yiming with some uncertainty, "Will Jian Yuer not come today?" "How could it be?" Yan Yiming lightly shook the small fan in his hand, and sat on a small stone stool beside the rockery. "No one can come, except her. The pure and kind heroine has not seen me yet. How could you give up?" As soon as the words finished, Lu Mei trotted over from one side and said excitedly, "Miss, Jian Yuer is here again, do you want to tell her to go back?" This little girl hated Jian Yuer completely, even Miss Jian didn't want to call her, so Yan Yiming couldn't help telling, "It's fine in front of me, but don't call me that in front of others, go ask Miss Jian to come in." Lu Mei exclaimed, "Miss, the weather is nice today, I just invite Miss Jian to drink tea." Yan Yiming signaled Lu Mei not to talk too much and just invite someone. Lu Mei ran away angrily. Yan Yiming took the time to straighten his hair and asked Little Apple, "Is your hair messy?" "No," Little Apple replied immediately, seeing Jian Yuer if she didn't think so, and didn't even care about whether her hair was messy or not. Yan Yiming smiled without saying a word, without explaining. Jian Yuer was finally able to see Yan Yiming after coming for 3 days. She was overjoyed with that charming face. She kindly asked the little girls to lead the way, and she came to Yan Yiming in a dignified manner and called out to Yan Yiming's sister. Yan Yiming raised his eyes and glanced at Jian Yuer. His eyes fell on the hollowed-out carved beaded hairpin in Jian Yuer's hair, and said with a slight smile, "I dare not take it." Jian Yuer suddenly became uneasy, and the circles of her eyes turned red again. Yan Yiming just gently shook the small golden fan in his hand, and said calmly with no sadness or joy on his face, "Miss Jian has been looking for me for 3 days, but she didn't say a word when she saw me today. If there is nothing wrong, I will go back." "There is something." Jian Yuer opened her mouth hastily, but she paused when she reached the point of her mouth. Yan Yiming put away the small fan, stretched out his hand and poured a cup of tea for Jian Yuer himself, and said slowly, "If you come to make amends, then you don't have to now. You have nothing wrong with me, and I don't blame you either." When Jian Yuer came here, she was always afraid of Yan Yiming's temper, but now she realized that Yan Yiming was more difficult to communicate with. She folded her hands guiltily and whispered, "Then why have you been avoiding him?" "I'm sick," Yan Yiming said. "Of course the most important thing is that I don't want to see you." Jian Yuer's face turned pale. "I don't want to meet the person who snatched away the person I like, especially that person is my good sister." Yan Yiming put away the small fan in his hand and said word by word, "I gave you face and let it go, but you if I have to make it clear, can I make it clear enough now?" Jian Yuer knew that her words were suffocating, but she couldn't explain it this time, so she could only reassure her, "His Royal Highness has never said that he likes me. We have no love between men and women before." "Oh, really?" Yan Yiming looked up at her and smiled, "You don't like him?" Jian Yuer was speechless again. Jian Yuer can't lie, she didn't try to grab Yan Yiming deliberately, but she didn't hide anything because of Yan Yiming, she ignored Yan Yiming on purpose, and now she suddenly realized that after she fell in love with Nangang Xian, she would the sisterhood with Yan Yiming has disappeared completely. She hesitated for a long time, and finally summoned up the courage to say, "I know my sister likes your highness, and I will never see his highness again." "No need," Yan Yiming interrupted Jian Yuer. "Nangang Xian is the male lead. What will happen to you in the future will be much more intimate than this time." Saying this is an infinite slap in the face. Moreover, Yan Yiming glanced at the rockery from the corner of his eye and said slowly, "If he doesn't like me, he will leave. I, Yan Yiming, have not fallen to the point where I need someone to give me up." Jian Yuer knew that she had said the wrong thing, she panicked for a moment and didn't know what to do. young Master Yan, who was hiding behind the rockery, almost screamed out of excitement, and was pulled by the fifth prince before continuing to listen with her mouth covered. Yan Yiming drank his tea slowly, with a calm tone. I have finished what I should say that day. I have nothing to do with His Highness. It has nothing to do with me who His Highness likes or not. I don't have to be him. If you are worried if I tell others about this to ruin your reputation, don't worry, I'm not so bored yet. Yan Yiming finished what should be said. Jian Yuer couldn't say a word. Yan Yiming drank the tea in his hand slowly and ordered to evict guests. If Miss Jian has nothing else, it's not early, you should go home too. Jian Yuer stood up stiffly and turned around to leave. The pearl hairpin in her hair swayed with her movements. Yan Yiming stared at the hairpin in her hair, and suddenly said, "The hairpin is very beautiful." Jian Yuer didn't understand what it meant at first, but suddenly remembered how the hairpin came here, and immediately shook her hand to explain something, and finally remembered what Yan Yiming said just now, and left quietly. Lu Mei leaned over and said dissatisfiedly, "Miss, you just let her go." "Otherwise," Yan Yiming said, "what else can I say? Why do you have to hide it for her and wrong yourself?" Lu Mei said angrily, "Miss, you are so kind to her, but she turned around and met with His Royal Highness in private. People who don't agree with each other are really disgusting." Yan Yiming sighed, "Don't say that again." "Why? Have you ever noticed the pearl hairpin in her hair?" Yan Yiming took a sip of his tea. The South China Sea's tribute pearls are extremely precious. Unlike other pearls, they have a light golden color on them. Only the crown prince got a dendrobium, and the pearl on the pearl hairpin in Miss Jian's hair is exactly that dendrobium pearl. Speaking of this, Yan Yiming paused before mockingly said, "Whether Jian Yuer is intentional or not, His Highness indeed used any bead to prevaricate me and gave her the best Nansu. Her Highness and I are in the heart of your Highness. The weight is clear at a glance. If I make things difficult for her again, it will only make him hate me even more." After finishing speaking, he seemed to have just noticed the shoes behind the rockery, suppressed all expressions and sighed, "Cheer, come out yet." As soon as the words fell, the unbearable young Master Yan jumped out from behind the rockery, and with him was another person with complicated eyes. Yan Yiming looked at the face that was very similar to Nangang Xian, was stunned for a moment, then quickly straightened his expression, smiled and bowed his knees. "I have seen His Royal Highness Fifth. The most beautiful lady of the Yan family in the capital has always been the object of affection for the princes of the capital's aristocratic families. Unfortunately, Miss Yan has already stated that she will only marry the prince in this life. It's fine if they are, but that person is the prince, and who can compare to his dignity? Naturally, some people are envious and others are jealous, so is Nangang Yat. They are both born of empresses, equally honorable, and even more so similar in appearance, but Yan Yiming still only has the prince in his eyes, and to her, he is just a younger brother who is the same size as Yan Yuki. Envy, I have envied, and even envied, but that's all." But what he heard now is that he already has Yan Yiming, but the crown prince has a private meeting with Jian Yuer. Nangang Ye couldn't stop his anger, even though it was his own brother. Why some people can't get any results because of their infatuation, why some people still don't know how to be satisfied when they already have it, why some people still think about him without expecting anything in return. He certainly recognized the lady just now, the daughter of Jian Xiang's family. She is also a prominent figure compared to Yan Yiming. The crown prince got close to her, and even sent Nanzu to Jian Yuer, but gave Yan Yiming an ordinary pearl. It is obvious which is more important, and it is precisely this that made Nangang Ye even more angry. Could it be that he wanted to take both of them into his bag? Then who is higher and who is lower? The answer is obvious, that's why Yan Yiming said that. How can you not be angry that the person who is on top of your heart is abandoned like a shoe? But apart from being angry, Nangang Ye heard other meanings. What Yan Yiming meant was that he was going to give up the prince. If she can give up the prince, he is confident that he will be able to compete. With just a pair of Shang Yan Yiming's eyes, Nangong Ye suddenly understood that no matter whether he was about to give up or not, Yan Yiming still only had the crown prince in his heart. She had never looked at him with such eyes, and he couldn't take his eyes away from just this one look. When she quickly changed her expression as if she had just woken up from a dream, Nangong Ye realized that it was just Yan Yan. Yiming recognized the wrong person. He and his own elder brother, the crown prince Nangong Xian, are 90% similar in appearance. Even the short-lived heart palpitations in this second are all because of Nangong Xian, which is unavoidably too absurd. He remembered how the prince abandoned her for the sake of the woman surnamed Jane in the conversation between the two just now, and remembered her faint sigh, saying that she was wronged repeatedly just to prevent the prince from hating her more. Maybe giving up is more like self-comfort. Compared with Nangong Yi's complicated thoughts, young Master Yan couldn't help cursing in a fiery temper. I knew she must have done something wrong to you. You kept it from her. When did you become so useless? Already. I just don't want to be entangled anymore. Get together and get away, Yan Yiming said helplessly. Kids don't get involved, just go and play. The child not only covered young Master Yan, but also brought the fifth prince into this rank with a stick. Nangong Yi's eyelids twitched, and he looked at Yan Yiming with a complicated expression and said suddenly, "Is it broken?" Both brothers and sisters shut up together. Yan Yiming's eyes were silent for a moment, then he turned his head to signal young Master Yan to go play somewhere else first. Don't let others in, I will talk to His Highness the Fifth Highness for a while. Young Master Yan looked at Yan Yiming, looked right at Nangong Ye, finally turned around and left knowingly, and before leaving, Lu Mei with a dull face also walked along. The tea is already cold, so I won't entertain His Highness to drink tea. Yan Yiming smiled and sat back on the stone bench. Your Highness can do whatever you want. Nangong Ye sat on the seat opposite Yan Yiming. He had no appetite for the tea that Jian Yuer drank, and he didn't stay here for the tea. He locked his eyes on Yan Yiming, seeing her calm appearance as if nothing had happened just now. Your Highness hasn't been to Yan Mansion for many days. If it was in the past, Nangong Ye would have covered up all the thoughts in his heart so as not to embarrass her, but now that the prince's barrier is gone, Nangong Ye doesn't feel the need to cover up anymore, so he just stared straight into Yan Yiming's eyes said, "It has indeed been many days since the last farewell." The last time, it was the time when Nangong Ye accidentally vented his thoughts and was discovered by Yan Yiming. Seeing that the smile on Yan Yiming's face faltered slightly, then she sighed and raised her head, and finally lost her fake relaxed look and said helplessly, "Your Highness, it's not worth it." Before Nangong Ye could speak, Yan Yiming continued, "I never expected His Highness to come to the mansion today, and I accidentally listened to what I said to Jian Yuer. I have kept this matter a secret, not even my mother. Tell. So I don't understand why I kept this matter secret." Nangong Ye was inexplicably complicated, thinking of Yan Yiming's words just now, "I don't want this matter to be revealed and Jian Yuer's reputation will be ruined, making the crown prince dislike you even more. Tell me it's not worth it, but if they treat you like that, is everything you do worth it?" Yan Yiming was silent. Blocking Yan Yiming's words, Nangong Ye didn't feel any improvement in his mood. No matter how much the prince can make you like him, he has already chosen not to want you, hasn't he? Yan Yiming didn't want to speak, and Nangong Ye didn't force her. After a while, he asked Yan Yiming as if he remembered it by chance, "Is the prince and I really similar?" Yan Yiming's eyes moved slightly. The Fifth Highness and the prince are both descended from the Empress, so there is a certain similarity. Is it just a little bit? Nangong Ye said, "If it's just a little bit similar, how could you recognize me as him?" "I don't have one," Yan Yiming replied quickly. After speaking, he seemed to feel that his answer was too fast to appear unreal, and added, "I just didn't expect His Highness to be here, so I was a little surprised." Nangong Ye looked at the clearly stubborn woman in front of him, and continued to ask calmly, "I didn't expect that I would appear, but did you expect the prince to appear here?" Yan Yiming raised his head and glanced at Nangong Ye, There seemed to be anger in his eyes, but he suppressed a smile. Since your highness has already guessed it, why bother to tease me like this? So what do I expect? The prince will not appear here at all. Yet, you clearly know that the prince won't show up, but you still expect him to come. Is he really that good? Nangang Yi's voice approached, and the anger in his eyes was a little hard to suppress. He's just that good, okay, even when you despise you in every possible way and still wholeheartedly only have him, now that he has another woman in his heart, you still don't let go. Every time Nangang Ye said something, Yan Yiming's face turned pale, as if stimulated by Nangang Yi's aggressive attitude. The calmness she tried to maintain began to crack inch by inch. She raised her head and glared at Nangang Ye angrily, stood up suddenly and said angrily, "Whatever he does to me, what does this have to do with His Highness? If His Highness has nothing else to do, I will leave." Nangang Ye only felt the anger rushing straight into his head, and immediately stood up and grabbed him back and said angrily, "Is it so embarrassing to be angry at what I said? A year ago, the Empress father and the Queen personally mentioned your marriage and he didn't marry you. Now with Jian Yu I won't marry you. Do you know your identity? You are the eldest lady of Dingguo's mansion. Even if you become the mother of the country in the future, you can afford it, but now you have to wait for the crown prince to marry Jian Yu before being carried into the East Palace concubine. Let go of me." Yan Yiming didn't try to break free, but Nangang Ye grabbed him even tighter. Her cheeks were so close that she could almost smell the light fragrance of her body. Nangang Ye's hand holding her wrist moved up slightly to hold her hand, finally suppressed his anger and said in a deep voice, "Even if you really want to, your grandfather won't agree, because Dingguo's government can't afford to lose face like this. Ming, you and the prince will never have a future. He doesn't like you anymore, but there are others who will. I can accompany you to see every peach blossom in Fuyu Mountain, and accompany you to choose every pearl. I won't make you so sad. You can look back at me, okay?" Yan Yiming was stunned on the spot. She looked at Nangang Ye blankly, as if shocked by his words. She couldn't help crying anymore. Nangang Ye's heart softened. He gently lifted her face, and wiped away the tears with his thumb. "You don't know how long I've liked you." Yan Yiming looked up at him fixedly. Tears ran down his cheeks uncontrollably, but suddenly Yan Yiming took a few steps back to wipe off the tears on his face and shook his head. "This is not allowed." "Why?" Nangang Ye was inevitably injured. He clearly saw the wavering in her eyes. "Because it's not fair to you." Yan Yiming said, "Your Highness, I can be with anyone, but this person will never be you. Listen to me, it's not that you are bad, but that you are too similar. Isn't that good? I thought you'd like it." "But you won't like it," Yan Yiming said. "You two are so similar, as long as I see you, I will think of him. You won't like me looking at you but thinking of someone else." It took Nangang Ye a while to understand what Yan Yiming meant, and he laughed. "As long as I am willing, there is no unfairness. I believe that one day, even if I see his face, I will only think of me. Name." After that day, Nangang Ye was no longer afraid, and would appear in the Yan mansion from time to time, but it was Nangang Xian who realized that the East Palace seemed a little deserted recently. Apart from the staff members in the Eastern Palace, the most frequent visitors were my friend Jian Yuan, my younger brother Nangang Ye, and Yan Yiming. Although these years have never had the idea of marrying Yan Yiming into the Eastern Palace, but seeing Yan Yiming's face, it is difficult for ordinary things to catch his eyes again, and he vowed to marry a princess he really likes, so the Eastern Palace has been there are no female relatives. Yan Yiming was domineering and arrogant by nature. At first he was only praised by his mother, and he really regarded himself as the hostess of this East Palace, wishing to come to the East Palace every day. Later, Nangang Xian became more and more impatient with her. Yan Yiming gradually became smarter, and learned to find some reasons to come back every now and then so as not to be so annoying. He had told Jian Yuan more than once that if Yan Yiming stopped stepping into the East Palace someday, it would be quieter here. When he said such words, Nangang Xian was smiling, probably because he had never thought of Yan Yiming. One day Ming really will never step into the East Palace again. Because he forgot when and where, he once heard Yan Yiming say that as long as he can marry him, it doesn't matter if he is not a princess. The eldest daughter of Duke Ding, who can make her eyes rise above her head, said such words, and since then Nangongxian knew that Yan Yiming recognized him. These days, Nangongxian naturally also heard the news that Yan Yiming was sick in bed, but in the past Yan Yiming pretended to be sick to attract him to visit many times, not to mention that he knew what happened that day best, so Nangongxian didn't believe it at all. He just thought it was Yan Yiming who was trying to lure him to Yan's mansion again. He clearly said that he was heartbroken and wanted to give up, but the result was not indulged in lust. Nangongxian didn't realize it while ridiculing. After thinking about this point clearly, most of the irritability for some reason in the past 2 days has disappeared. Even Yan Yiming might never have thought that His Royal Highness the Crown Prince suddenly felt a little lost because of the absence of her noise in the East Palace. After the staff left, Nangongxian picked up the pen on the pen holder, and when dipping in the ink, his eyes fell on this dragon tail inkstone. This inkstone. Nangongxian thought of Yan Yiming as offering a treasure, and personally hugged this inkstone to him. Even the royal family rarely sees such a good inkstone. Yan Yiming didn't know where to get it. Later, I heard about the old Duke Ding being thrown away by her granddaughter. She danced in a peerless way. Nangongxian doesn't know what's wrong with him. These 2 days he always thinks of Yan Yiming, thinks of the shocking beauty of her disappointed face when she left that day, thinks of Ri's eyes full of anticipation to please him. Nangongxian couldn't help chuckling, although he knew that Yan Yiming must be pretending to be sick again to lure him to visit, but this time he didn't seem to have the same disgust as before. Thinking of this, Nangongxian couldn't help but remember Yan Yiming's previous appearance of pretending to be sick, pretending that he didn't wait for him for a few days, and could only touch Dong Gong again as if nothing happened. Thinking about it now, she was actually a little silly and cute. She might as well spend a few days to fulfill her wish, and it wouldn't hurt to go to Yan's mansion. The prince recalled that Yan Yiming, who was staying in the Yan mansion with nothing to do at the moment, asked someone to find a fishing rod and bait to fish on the pavilion in the middle of the lake. Suddenly, Little Apple exclaimed, Nangongxian's favorability has increased by 100 again. 5 out of 5. Yan Yiming was taken aback by Little Apple's sudden voice, and shook the fishing rod in his hand. The fish that was almost hooked just now swam away quickly after hearing the news. They are all the 100th generation of Little Apples. Why are they still so easily excited? Little Apple probably felt that his sudden behavior was really embarrassing to the Apple family, so he whispered a little ashamedly, actually, I have tried my best to control it, but I still can't control it. Yan Yiming lifted up the hook that had lost the bait and put it aside with a smile. Okay, if you can't control it, you can't control it. You said that Nangongxian's favorability increased by 5%? What's the reason? Little Apple shook her head and said that she was helpless. I am a derivative system of the game, and all the main lines are still based on Jianyuer as in the game. I can only find out who Jianyuer interacts with. In the past 2 days, Jianyuer's main character is Jianyuan. Since there is no interaction with Nangongxian, then I don't know any news about Nangongxian. Can't see Nangongxian. Yan Yiming can't help admiring for a while how Jianyuan takes care of his sister in every possible way, but there is no exciting picture from the beginning to the end, so he put away the game progress in a waning mood check. Among the 4 male protagonists, the relationship between Zhang Yi and Jianyuan, the chief assistant of the genius, is the most reserved. Zhang Yi is due to his personality, and Jianyuan is due to his status restriction. As for Nangongxian, he can do whatever he wants, and Xiao Jingyu's action figures are beyond the charts, and he will act immediately when he thinks of it, so the emotional line between the two is always full of various physical contacts, and the emotional development is also the smoothest. So people are sensory animals. Men will have a desire to conquer because of physical conquest, and women will have a sense of belonging because of physical contact. The emotional progress is also rapid when the senses are comfortable. Yan Yiming discussed with Little Apple for a while why Jianyuer is the most tempting. The two people I love are Xiao Jingyu and Nangang Xian. Do you know where the fastest love comes from? Little Apple humbly asked. Where? On the bed. Yan Yiming gritted his teeth and said, Xiao Jingyu's goodbye kiss before going to the battlefield made Jianyuer's first love affair never forget. Nangang Xian, I remember when Jianyuer fell into the water, the two of them had a skin-to-skin relationship. Something happened, even if Nangang Xian has a low EQ, but he is the son of Yu Yu, and he won at the starting line from the very beginning, so, Little Apple always felt that something was wrong and wanted to refute, but after thinking about it for a long time, she couldn't figure out what was wrong, so she could only continue Yan Yiming's topic in a daze. So what? Not a single fish was caught early in the morning, and Yan Yiming stood up from the beauty in a rather disappointed manner. So next time you travel through, it's best to give me an identity with a lot of room to play, even though the background of this game is already very unreserved and unscrupulous, but a young girl from a famous family can only talk about Play-Doh with her lips. Doesn't this increase the difficulty of the strategy? Little Apple. This is clearly because it is worried that the host is not satisfied with the top quality status that has been selected by thousands of people, but it turned out to be disgusted. Xiandao will definitely choose a few Lang's flying identities to the host later. The host, where are we going now? Yan Yiming smiled, and the red mole at the end of his eye was burning his eyes. Of course it's dressing up, and I'm going to tease the little wolf dog. Before Nangongsuan had time to visit Yan Yiming, he was called into the cunning palace by his own empress. The empress of the dynasty became the concubine when the emperor was still the prince, and a good part of the reason why the emperor succeeded in ascending the throne was because of the power of the empress's family. The empresses are smart people. After the emperor ascended the throne, he took the initiative to hand over the power in his hands, which greatly moved the emperor. Since then, he has reused the empresses. It is a good move to retreat. The empress has a gentle and intelligent personality. Over the years, she has always treated the emperor with respect, and she gave birth to 2 princes and a princess. The position in the central palace has been quite stable for many years, but seeing the 2 sons getting older, there is no one around her. The side concubine didn't have any either, so she was unavoidably anxious. Especially Nangang Xian, who will perform the coronation ceremony at the end of this year. Although there are many aristocratic women in the capital, the number of women with deep foundations enough to help their sons can be counted on one hand. Among these beauties, Yan Yiming is one of them. The queen has always had a good impression of Yan Yiming. Although she is a bit hot-tempered, she is beautiful and she is a young lady from a scholarly family. The child is infatuated with his own son. Although it is a great help to find a daughter of an aristocratic family, it is also a big hidden danger if you get married and continue to follow the mother's family. But with Yan Yiming's love for the crown prince, it is easy for the crown prince to handle Yan Yiming. The only difficult thing is that the prince doesn't seem to like Miss Yan's family very much. The queen once asked the prince why, and the prince said that Yan Yiming was too evasive, and he preferred someone with a gentler temper. The queen loves her son, and knows that her son seems to be strong but has some tenderness in her bones. She has always wanted to leave the position of princess concubine to a truly dedicated person, but it's so easy to be in the royal family. Although Nangang Xian is the crown prince, there is still the eldest son of the emperor. Although the emperor does not establish a son, the current emperor was not a son of the emperor at the beginning. No one knows what he thinks in his heart. Now that the crown prince is about to lose his crown, the candidate for the crown prince should be decided early and reassured. Why didn't Nangang Xian understand this truth? The empress mother mentioned Yan Yiming again, although she didn't feel disgusted as much as before, but she always felt it was a pity. After hearing what the empress said, she waved the left and right back and said, "What does the empress think of Jiangxiang's daughter?" Jianyuer. The queen was surprised, and after seeing her son nodding, she thought for a while, remembering that Jianyuer was indeed gentle, no wonder the prince liked it. Jian Yuer's identity is no worse than Yan Yiming's. Although she is not as good-looking as Yan Yiming, she is superior in her good-natured and gentle temperament. When the crown prince ascends the throne, Jian Yuer's temperament is more suitable for the position of harem lord than Yan Yiming. It's just that although the Jian family didn't say it clearly, they had already stood by the crown prince's side. It would be a waste of the position of the crown prince to marry the daughter of the Jian family. But the prince likes it again. I had never thought about Jian Yuer before, but now that the crown prince mentioned it, the queen immediately felt that Jian Yuer was not bad, but the two families would definitely not agree to have a concubine as a concubine, even if it was the crown prince's concubine. The aristocratic family always cared about the family's face. After thinking about it for a while, I couldn't think of which one was better, and finally I could only sigh. I really couldn't think of any good way to get the best of both worlds. The mother and son talked for a long time, and then they skipped this matter and talked about their younger brother Nanggong Yat. Yan Yiming has been pretending to be sick in the mansion and has never been to the East Palace these days, and has been treating the East Palace as his own royal brother for the past few days. The day was nowhere to be seen. The queen immediately laughed when she heard about it. Ye just came to this palace yesterday, so she said that she took the set of delicate green emerald and beaded jade bracelets that your father gave to this palace, and she didn't say what it was for. Even if he didn't say anything, how could the empress not be able to tell that the youngest son must have been attracted to some young lady, and tried every means to make her happy, even daring to make up her mind about her things. Nanggong Xian also immediately laughed when he heard that. No wonder I haven't seen this kid these days. It just so happens that there is nothing important today, so I went to his house to see if he was seduced by a young lady. Under Jinling City, Kingxiu Pear Garden, the pear blossoms are a few days later than the peach blossoms, but now they are in full bloom. There is a plum garden in winter, and a pear garden in spring. The pear garden is actually a theatre in Jinling City. It is not an ordinary theatre building where ordinary people listen to operas. It is a place where only the famous and noble people come. It seems to be isolated from the noisy Jinling, with winding paths leading to secluded places, and purple and white pear blossoms all over the sky. The sound of running water could be heard faintly. In the ear is Wunong's soft words and Tsing Yi through the rain of flowers. The tip of the nose is the fragrance from the maid in plain clothes pouring tea, and the black and white jumping chess pieces are under his hands. The young master Nanggong Yet asked Yan Yiming to listen to Chuer and play chess, and he also brought a small light bulb with him, the young master of the Yan family. However, looking at Nanggong Yet and Yan Xiaodai's familiarity, it seems that they are regular customers here, and Yan Xiaodai's speed of taking over the brand, ordering plays and ordering female roles is even more smooth. Ever since the fifth prince Nanggong Ye knew that Yan Yiming was going to give up his elder brother, the restless heart that had been suppressed before, was revived bit by bit under Yan Yiming's deliberate guidance. He has been close to young Master Yan since he was a child, so he often comes to Yan's mansion. Since the last time he talked to Yan Yiming, he has come to Yan's mansion almost every day. Yan Yiming will not deliberately avoid him like before, and will talk and play with him with a smile. He knew that he liked Yan Yiming very much, but when he really met her, when Yan Yiming was no longer a child, Nanggong Ye felt that he liked Yan Yiming more than he imagined. I like to see her clinging to the chess pieces, whether she is frowning or thinking seriously. I feel the beauty is so beautiful that it makes my heart tremble. I like it so much that I don't even realize that Yan Yiming's chess skills at the moment are like a mentally retarded. Although it is said that Yan Yiming has the memory of Ms. Yan before, so it is natural to know how to play piano, chess, calligraphy, and painting, but Yan Yiming is a lazy person. Lazy people never like this kind of brain-intensive and elegant competition. Rolling dice may be more joyful than size. After losing a game without thinking, Yan Yiming caught the younger brother Yan who was standing behind him eagerly trying to point out the whole game. "Come here, I will rest for a while." Younger brother Yan said, "You don't have to be my sister, please do as you please," but he still quickly sat on the seat before Yan Yiming, and after a few laughs, he said proudly, Look, I'll win it back for you. Not being able to play Yi Nanggongye with Yan Yiming was inevitably a little bit disappointed, but then he was not lost again, because Yan Yiming was sitting on the blue stone bench on one side, and when he turned his head, he could see her slender eyelashes fluttering slightly like a butterfly. Yan Yiming is wearing a green smoked sweater today, a pleated skirt of water mist and green grass, and a thin emerald green veil, and a thin powder applied on the face, which is charming and boneless. At this moment, both arms were idly resting on the blue stone table, and the thin sleeves slipped down to reveal the slender wrist like cold jade, which was whiter and more dazzling against the emerald green jade bracelet on the wrist. This bracelet was a piece of top quality jadeite presented by the governor of Liangzhou at the beginning, and the emperor ordered the jade carver to carve it carefully to obtain such a pair of bracelets, which was later rewarded to the queen mother. Seeing Yan Yiming's attire a few days ago, Nanggongye felt that the bracelet was suitable, so he tried his best to get the bracelet from his mother's queen. Before wearing it on Yan Yiming's wrist, I had already imagined the glamorous color, but now that I put her on Yan Yiming's wrist with my own hands, I found that she is more beautiful than imagined in the green and misty skirt she is wearing today. Fit. The maids brought over lychees. Lychees are a rarity in the first place, not to mention March red, which can be ripe in March. A single one is worth half a year's food rations for ordinary people. At this moment, the hands that attract Nanggongye from time to time are slowly peeling the bright red lychees. After peeling, they put the white flesh into the mouth. The fine white teeth bite the flesh bit by bit, and finally spit out the hard flesh of the core. Nanggongye was a little absent-minded in this game of chess, probably feeling that he was possessed by Yan Yiming, so even if Yan Yiming was just eating lychees normally, it seemed like a silent temptation to him. Want to hold those hands tightly, try to see if they are as soft and boneless as imagined, want to taste those lips, whether they are softer and sweeter than imagined. Younger brother Yan played chess seriously without being distracted. Even Yan Yiming noticed Nanggongye, who had just made a quick move. The situation was a little passive at the moment, and the younger brother Yan caught the gap in the moment of trance. Many sunspots on the board were ruthlessly removed. Little Apple shook her head regretfully in a place where others could not hear. Sure enough, he is a young man, his concentration is too weak. If concentration is too good, then how can I play this game? Yan Yiming chuckled, picked up another lychee and slowly peeled it off. The younger brother of the Yan family was very proud of having the upper hand. Nanggongye couldn't help feeling annoyed. He forced himself not to look at Yan Yiming, who was on the side. His handsome face finally became a little more serious. He put his fingers into the chess box and twisted a chess piece, and just about to fall, his lips touched, but suddenly it was cold, and what looked down into his eyes was Yan Yiming's pale fingertips and white and tender lychees. Open your mouth. Yan Yiming fed the peeled lychee to his mouth with a smile on his delicate face. Nanggongye's fingers holding the chess piece suddenly tightened. His thoughts were in a mess for a while. He looked at Yan Yiming in a daze, but he opened his mouth uncontrollably and bit the lychee. She bit anxiously, and his lips and teeth accidentally touched Yan Yiming's finger that he hadn't had time to retract. The lips and teeth were filled with the sweetness left by lychee, but it couldn't resist the touch of Yan Yiming's cold fingers on the lips, and they were instantly burnt. Nanggongye had this thought in his heart, and immediately looked up at her, only to find that Yan Yiming had quickly peeled off another lychee, and the finger that touched him just now pinched the lychee and put it into his mouth. When he looked over, he smiled and said, "Is it sweet?" Nanggongye stared at Yan Yiming's fingers dipped in lychee juice, and suddenly his ears turned red. Little Apple couldn't bear to look directly at her and covered her eyes. The host is too bullying. In the 21st century, the Fifth Highness is still a minor. At this moment, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince went straight to the mansion of the fifth Prince Nanggongye after leaving the palace. The fifth prince was still young, and because his brother was not yet married, there was never a wife or a concubine in the mansion. The prince suddenly arrived in person, and the fifth prince was not in the mansion. Everyone in the mansion knelt down on the ground in fear. Nangang Xian waved his hand to signal everyone to stand up. Then he asked Nangang Ye, who had not been seen for several days, "Where's Ye'er?" "Go back to your highness. Fifth Highness left the mansion early in the morning and hasn't come back yet." Nangang Xian wasn't surprised at all, and walked towards Nangang Ye's study with long legs. "Do you know where you went? Go back to your highness, and say that you have gone to Dingguo Duke's mansion." "Dingguo mansion?" "He must have gone to find that kid from the Yan family again." Nangang Xian smiled. At the beginning, he chose the child from the Yan family to be Ye'er's companion. After all these years, the two children have become more and more in love. Now that he has gone to the Yan family, it happens that he is going to visit the sick Yan Yiming, might as well go to Yan's house later. Picking up the copybook on Nangang Yi's desk, he found a picture of a beauty under the copybook. It is said to be a picture of beauty, because it can be seen that the figure of the woman in the picture is slim, but strictly speaking, it makes people laugh and cry. The number one son of Jinling City, Jian Yuxian, is a very good painter, but his younger brother Nangang Yi's painter can't seem to draw the beauty he imagined. The only thing that caught his attention was that although the facial features were unrecognizable, there was a tiny red mole at the end of the woman's right eye. Red mole. Yan Yiming's bright and beautiful face suddenly appeared in front of his eyes, his slightly raised eyes, and the beautiful red mole at the end of his eyes. It's just that even though he thought of Yan Yiming at the first time, Nangang Xian never thought that the beauty in Nangang Yi's works was Yan Yiming, but he wondered if the red mole at the end of this beauty's eyes could compare with Yan Yiming's hook people. Since Nangang Ye was not at the mansion, Nangang Xian did not stop there, and then went to Duke Dingguo's mansion. The prince was personally notified in advance, and everyone in the Yan family was shocked when they heard that the prince was coming. From the old Duke Ding to his 2-year-old great-grandson all came to welcome him. Nangang Xian helped the old master Yan up with his own hands, and after going to the main hall of Yan's family to salute, Nangang Xian realized that it seemed that Yan Yiming was not here. The old lady Yan saw the prince's expression at a glance, and then hurriedly explained, "Ming'er has been ill for a long time, and he can only go to the field in the past 2 days. Today, the Fifth Highness came to the house and said that he was going to the Laiwan to attend an opera, so Cheer took it with him. She went together to say that she was going to get rid of the sickness, and she will be back soon." "Is it really sick?" Nangang Xian was surprised. He just thought it was Yan Yiming who was pretending to be sick, but he didn't want to know that he was really sick until today came. Thinking of Yan Yiming's pale face that day, he couldn't bear it. Old Lady Yan knows how much her granddaughter likes the crown prince. It is rare for the crown prince to give Ming'er a good face, but today she came here to visit him specially. If he is allowed to leave, Ming'er will be disappointed when he comes back. Old Madame Yan felt sorry for her granddaughter, so she thought about it and probed, "It's getting late, since His Highness is here, why not have a meal at the house? It's not as good as the royal chef in the palace, your highness should treat it as something new." Knowing that Yan Yiming was really ill, Nangang Xian couldn't bear it. It seemed that he hadn't seen Yan Yiming for many days, and now he realized that he really missed Yan Yiming, and he didn't refuse when the old lady asked Yan Yiming to stay. When Yan Yiming came back, the sky had already darkened, and just after entering the mansion, a little girl brought Yan Yiming to the main hall with a beaming face. "Young lady has come back, His Royal Highness has been waiting for a long time." Young Master Yan's expression suddenly changed, and he hurriedly turned his head to look at Yan Yiming, but Yan Yiming had already left him and walked straight to the main hall, and raised the corners of his lips excitedly where he could not see. The maids outside the door reported that the young lady and the young master had returned and were heading towards the main hall. Nangang Xian had some indescribable expectations. Looking up, a beautiful woman stepped in under the moonlight. Under the candlelight, the red mole added more color to this face. Wen Wen stepped forward and bowed slightly, calling His Royal Highness, the familiar appearance, but when he looked up, he was not as happy as Nangang Xuan imagined. Nangang Xian suddenly felt that he didn't like Yan Yiming's gaze. The air seemed to be a little condensed, and even Mrs. Yan was a little confused. Mrs. Yan was in a hurry, and hurriedly stepped forward to remind Yan Yiming, "I still don't pour tea for His Royal Highness." Yan Yiming nodded obediently, poured the tea smoothly, stepped forward and handed the teacup to Nangang Xian, stretched out his sleeves to reveal a dazzling green jade bracelet. Nangang Xian's eyes were fixed on Yan Yiming's wrist, and suddenly he stretched out his hand to firmly grasp Yan Yiming's wrist. The hot tea fell from his hand and soaked the hem of the skirt, but Nangang Xian didn't let go at all. "Bian Sen Round sounded, who gave you this bracelet?" "The author has something to say, Yan Yiming, look at my bracelet, it looks good." "Everyone, so green."